Cool.
There it is.
So you're in charge, Rylan. We got a couple of options. You're looking good, man.
Thank you.
I'm looking just like I did yesterday. We got a couple options. You can make me host, or you can pause the recording real quick, and then we'll get it started when we start the webinar.
Okay. Yep. I'll pause it.
Yep. Cool. Yeah.
Yep.
Great that you hit the recording. We'll really kind of get into it in a few minutes here. But I did a little research, just a little bit, right? So I had some numbers around the big data.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's like,
crazy.
and I'll, what we like every second, I can't even quantify this. I don't even know what this means, right? But every human, every second creates like 17 gigabytes of data or something like that on the internet while they're in the internet. Mm-hmm. Wow.
It's crazy to see, the world we live in, and there's so many data points you could tap into, and we could talk about it, I know, in depth, but it's just crazy the amount of characteristics, historical data, behavioral analytics that really kind of are out there and able to tap into, and a lot of from companies size A to Z are utilizing it to grow their business and grow customers.
97 and I'll share this when we kind of, as the room fills up here, we got people rolling in. Brian, Bruce, welcome you guys. We've got, 97.2% of organizations are investing in big data and AI. Mm-hmm. That's almost 100%, man.
Yeah.
They'll never be able to say 100%, but that's crazy, right? And we see it too. We're going to talk a little bit about CRM and, so those of you who are showing up now, we're going in a couple of minutes. Tracy, welcome. We're just kind of having, Rylan and I catching up a little bit, but we'll kick off in a couple of minutes. So what you're hearing now, you'll probably hear and repeat when we kind of get into that. It's actually not going to change at all. I'm just going to make an introduction. That's about it, right? So I like doing these, Rylan. By the way, I think I told you, I used to do a ton of solo webinars, and they always came across as kind of salesy, right?
Yeah.
And so we've been doing joint webinars now for probably a year, maybe a year and a half. Awesome. I love it, right? It brings, people who attend my webinars regularly, bringing on guests brings new perspective and new, just it brings more value, I think. Of course, it doesn't hurt that, you promote our brand to your, to your database. Well, so that's that kind of the guest webinar is a nice model that way, more value, more reach. I did a solo webinar, I think in February.
Okay.
I'll never do another one. It was terrible. I mean, it was like, I felt like I was talking to an empty room. There were plenty of people there, but it was just not having somebody to kind of banter off of and exchange ideas with. It felt really flat. So I love this format. And I don't know, did you prepare any slides, or are we just gonna chat a little bit?
Yeah, I have one slide that I want to show, but definitely wanted to keep this as open and kind of free flowing and really gain, have the attendees really gain a lot of insight of kind of how to tap into big data, a couple marketing tips to come out of this. And at the end of the day, grow everyone's book of business and how to build brand awareness and find that target market. So super excited to be here.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what, 2:00, we got some more people rolling in. Brian, welcome. Tracy, good to see you. Tara, Mike. So nice to see the room's filling up a little bit. Why don't we kick this thing off, man?
Awesome. Yeah.
All right. Very cool. Well, I'll start and then I'll let you go.
Sounds good.
So I am thrilled, first off, Rylan, that you would join me. Right. So thank you very much. I'm humbled by the fact that you'd come and, speak to our audience and let my personal and social advisors brand into your audience. So thank you so much for being here. For those in attendance and for those watching and recording, Rylan and I have known each other 3 or 4 years at this point. And when we first met, Rylan was actually a prospect. Yeah. So you sat on the other side of the desk for a little while, which is great perspective. And so it was probably maybe 18 months. We hadn't really communicated, maybe an exchange on LinkedIn here and there.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you show up with Catalyze AI and the story is super compelling. Right. So Rylan Folts, thank you so much for being here. Why don't you say a little bit about yourself, your journey getting to Catalyze AI, and then tell us a little bit about the company and your positioning within the industry.
Definitely, Charlie. Well, hey, thanks for the invite, and I love to be here and excited for the hour-long webinar. So, a little bit of my background. Like Charlie said, I did sit on the other side, kind of right out of college. I knew I wanted to be an advisor, very entrepreneurial, and I joined JP Morgan's private bank. Sat there as an advisor, worked with the ultra high net worth clients, dealing with asset allocation, estate planning, prospecting, business development. In my time there, I loved it. I was out in Naples, Florida. Decided, hey, I wanted to come home. Being originally from Phoenix, Arizona, I came back to Phoenix, worked for an RA out in Scottsdale, Arizona. There, I really started, to work with the senior advisors, grow my own book, and really start diving into, okay, what's the tools to grow my own book? What are the marketing strategies? And I think that's where I met Charlie, and kind of helping me out, hey, how can I get more presence on LinkedIn? And really a lot of brand awareness that I was trying to per se. And so, after that, I moved out to Hermosa Beach, California and LA, and joined another advisor out there. And in my time there, that's when I really started to find a real need in the advisors, and saying, hey, each firm I was at, the broker dealer model, I was at the independent, the firm out in Los Angeles is a hybrid. And so I really saw each business model kind of at my stops in my history. And I felt at all three of them, each of them were a little behind on the marketing. We focus so much on COIs, friends and family, referrals. But I saw a real need in terms of finding your target market, and me being a young guy trying to fill my database of, who should I get in front of, and really who are the qualified prospects in my area and in my backyard. And that's where, we kind of bumped heads. I have a good friend from high school who was also working at a Chicago firm, an RA out there. And we kind of collided and said, hey, how can we tap into big data, as we'll discuss, to really create and identify individuals that are going through a Catalyst event? And that's where the name comes from. Catalyze AI. It is identifying the individuals that have money in motion at the end of the day. And that's really kind of our motto is Catalyst events cause change. And it really comes down to money in motion creates opportunity. And so that's what we set out to do. And there's, in this technology, world we live in, there's so much big data out there, characteristics, historical events, all this data that we could tap into, and really build that target market for advisors, and provide that to help them increase their brand awareness, find that target market, to grow their book of business and win new business and bring more AUM to their platform. So that's awesome. A little bit about me and about Catalyze. That's awesome. And so excited to dive into it.
Well, and you guys, just to, round out that story on Catalyze. And before we go any further, if you've got questions or anything, we'd love for you guys to take part in this conversation. So if you got questions, if you put it in the chat or the Q&A box, we'll attend to it, whichever one of us isn't talking at the time, I guess. So I, the story behind Catalyze was, when we got back together and you told me about where you'd come from, but also I ran into you at the Jolt conference in Vegas, the Snapcracken conference. Yeah. Yep. And it looked like the reception there was for your product and your service was awesome too.
Yeah. We partner well with firms like yourself and other activation strategies and CRMs, and we'll dive into it, of how to build, how to activate, how to engage with your database. And it first starts with building that database, identifying the individuals to prospect, and then activating them in forms of different outreach that we'll get to. So it was great that we bumped into each other at Jolt and this came out of it.
Yeah, that's good. So let's talk about big data. Some people find it scary, and I was doing some research before we hopped on, and the number, like 1.7 gigabytes of data each human that's on the internet creates in 1 second.
Yep.
Every second. I can't quantify that. I don't know what my mind kind of boggles around that. Right. But some people find it kind of scary. What do you think about that, Rylan?
It is. It's scary. And this is, diving in, being on the other side, on the data side, you really see how vast, I mean, you're talking trillions and trillions of data points on each individual. And so it's how can we take advantage? We know we live, in this day and age. And so there's no way around it. It is scary. Big Brother's really there. And it's, instead of, as advisors, as running a business, you got to adapt, and you really need to take advantage of the new wave to build organic growth. And that's what's and that's what's going to happen, as we become more technology in this day and age. So it's only getting bigger in terms of each data point, historical data, every characteristic you make, credit score. Do you own a boat? Do you donate to a political party? There's data points on top of data points. So it is. Yeah.
$27 billion industry in banking right now. And by 2025, it's going to double, more than double. 62 billion just banking alone. $62 billion industry in banking. I imagine that includes financial services as well by 2025.
Yeah. It's
wow.
There's a lot of dollars flowing out there.
There sure is, man. There sure is. That's cool. And the other thing I saw, 97.2% of organizations today leveraging big data and artificial intelligence. And that's what's cool about that is you guys, Catalyze AI makes that data consumable for a smaller organization, right? As opposed to the money that's being invested in big data by huge corporations and organization. You can work with smaller firms to give them access to the data that matters to them.
Exactly. And that's exactly what we wanted to bring to market. We felt there was a need in terms of, big corporation, Fortune 500 companies, Lululemon, Budweiser, Robinhood, Coinbase, they're all utilizing AI. And that just goes to your point. It's the independent advisors, it's the smaller teams, the bigger teams that we said, hey, advisors are sometimes behind the 8 ball in terms of marketing. And we really wanted to help advisors become, modernized in terms of their marketing and their activation and building that target market. So that's exactly what we wanted to bring is an easy data set to congest and really pinpoint it. And it's really in your backyard that money in motion. It's kind of the neighbor across the street that you didn't know of. Inheriting $1 million overnight. And that's the type of data we wanted to bring to advisors, make them aware of what's going on and taking advantage of big data to grow your book of business.
Yeah, that's awesome. One of the things I say all the time is every sale requires timing and need, right?
Yep.
And I say it like this, actually. You need a gallon of gas in your car. That's based on your timing and your need. Milk in the fridge, right? I mean, all those, even those little purchases, big relationship decisions like who you're working with as a financial advisor, other professional services as well, align the same way, timing and need. And frankly, we're in a place right now with where the market's at that there is a lot of flux, right? There's a lot of change and a lot of movement because, that timing is right for a lot of advisors and a lot of investors. When we do the work we do on LinkedIn, oftentimes we're looking for milestone events. The coaching I do with advisors on Facebook, right? Connect with your clients, connect with your prospects so that you can see when they have a child, buy a house, grandchild, maybe in most cases, but when these types of things happen, a lot of times people broadcast that. Now they don't have to broadcast it for you to be able to get to it. Tell me, Rylan, what's the number one thing when you're working with advisors? What's the number one money in motion milestone indicator that they're looking for?
Yeah, and I think that we have a suite of Catalyst events that we help push to advisors, and kind of being on the other side to start out. I noticed 80-90% of prospects that were sitting across from me, they had that need, and it could be as small as, hey, Rylan, I just had a baby. Let's set up a 529 plan. Let's talk about college education. So, hey, I have a $15 million estate coming through. Like, let's bring in, we need all hands on deck here. So it could be as such a small event to a bigger inheritance. And to that point, out of all the all the money in motion and all the events that we track, it really, I would say two of them there is where advisors are really seeing success and taking advantage. And one of that is on the inheritance. And just to talk to kind of where the money's at in terms of a society is there's so many assets are built on the boomer stage right now. And with real estate prices over the last 20 years, even the stock market has done phenomenally well on a 20-year track history. There's so much money tied up into that boomer phase, and it's trickling down to that next gen that the beneficiaries in the form of trillions of dollars. So just to put it in perspective, $3 trillion per year change hands to that next gen. Wow. So it's really powerful, and there's a lot of money in motion, and there's a lot of opportunity as advisors know. Making that relationship with the kids is really important. And so what we do with advisors is we identify in your area the individuals that are having inheritances really timely. So we could push data to them and saying, hey, here's 200 individuals in your city that had just inherited $1 million. Now you could be more prescriptive and also more targeted to the outreach that you're doing. So instead of trying to shoot, you're trying to fish in the ocean, you're almost shooting fish in a barrel in terms of how focused you could be in terms of your outreach, and find the need. As an advisor previously myself, I loved when, hey, I just inherited this set of money and I need help. It was never, there were never laser focused of what they needed I want asset allocation. I want alternative investments. I want growth stocks. This is where an advisor could really bring their full suite of services. It is in this inheritance situation. And so there's a lot of money there, and advisors really could shine in terms of their holistic approach, as it's not just about the investments and the asset allocation, but it's the tax planning, it's the estate planning. Yeah. So as in terms of milestone events, as well as money in motion, inheritance is our biggest and where the most amount of money is flowing.
Cool. What else is on that? What else is on that list? Inheritance and
divorce. Unfortunately, divorce.
Yeah.
It's divorce is definitely I would say number two, and just the stats alone. 70% of females who get a divorce hire a new financial advisor. Wow. So harnessing that data and really bringing that data to advisors, they really could find that need and help them out, as instead of going to Google and getting trapped on websites. We're providing the data extremely fresh and top of funnel, so you could be first to the punch as an advisor. So really finding that need, and then being really targeted, and ultimately at the end of the day, it saves marketing dollars, as instead of me trying to prospect all of Beverly Hills, I could be really targeted. So instead of 50,000 individuals that live in Beverly Hills, I could say, hey, here's 200 who just had a divorce or who just inherited money. And I could be a little more thoughtful and put more dollars in the outreach. It's not just an email. Maybe it's a handwritten note and a gift, or different events that I could put on to really focus on the smaller group.
Well, let's talk about that, right? Because if I get an inheritance tomorrow,
yep,
Wednesday, and then Thursday, I get a call from an advisor. That's creepy, right? A little bit, right? Yep. If I get a divorce tomorrow and then Thursday, you know what I mean? So I think there's probably a right way and a wrong way to approach that data. Now, you guys provide names and email address, and how deep. First, let's talk about before the approach. Let's talk about how deep that data goes. What are you able to provide to an advisor?
So, in terms of internally, we have over 100 data points on each individual that we provide. So, think about net worth, credit score. Are they a political donor? Do they own a boat? What kind of car do they own? All these data points on an individual, but what we push to advisors is the core contact information. So think full name, their age, their address, mobile number, high quality email, for an advisor to stick into a marketing funnel in terms of different outreach methods, and we could talk about that. So that's the core information. Internally, we do a lot of AI, machine learning and AI to push higher propensity leads to that advisor. So in terms of different events and different characteristics, we know a higher propensity lead versus another given different characteristics and historical characteristics around that individual. So at the end of the day, we could push to an advisor extremely high propensity individual as well as high quality contact information to kind of an easy to use portal.
Well, and as a user of your data, so I can broadcast that, right? So we're not just friends; we're also also exchange services.
Yeah.
I think when we went through the database that you sent over, we were able to align about 70% LinkedIn URLs as well.
Yeah. So we scrape LinkedIn URLs as well and provide that. And Charlie, I know this is exactly where your services comes to help with our advisors. Yeah. Is how to build that LinkedIn campaign, how to automate LinkedIn, as there's really neat features, and I'll let you touch on that. But we provide Facebook URLs, LinkedIn URLs for social media, as that's where marketing's moving to, is on social media. So we help you find those individuals on LinkedIn and Facebook to broadcast to target to.
Cool. My buddy Jerry, how you doing? I hope you enjoyed the trip to Orlando. I got a question for you, Rylan. Does the core info include where current assets are located now?
So in terms of net worth, that's a big qualification step internally for us. So our bogey is $1 million in investable assets or more. So we take a look, we plug into over 3 dozen data providers, and all those characteristics points. When an individual is filling out a mortgage application, we could tap into it. There's so many credit score, credit applications that we could tap into, where we just push an estimated net worth to you. So you'll see, if you receive leads from us, you'll see net worth $2 million. And at the end of the day, it's are they qualified or not? That's what we're trying to help advisors is, hey, this is a qualified individual, meaning they have substantial investable assets, liquid net worth. And that's where we focus on, is providing you an estimate on that net worth as a whole.
We got another question come in, which is a perfect segue,
awesome,
Rylan, into our next discussion, which I kind of touched on already. Big data can be creepy a little bit, right? So if all of a sudden I go through, a money in motion or a milestone event, and I get all this outreach, that's part of big data being creepy.
Yeah.
So what have you found? And maybe we start with, maybe we go through some of you and I chatted a little bit about it yesterday. Direct email, direct outreach. How does that work for advisors, right? I mean, when basically it's a cold call, right? We know there's a need there, or a perceived need, right? So let's talk about that direct outreach. And then I know you and I discussed some kind of ways to skirt that direct outreach so it doesn't look like a kind of a creepy outreach, if you will. Better word.
Yeah, definitely. I think to that point, hey, having that advisor be there, right time, right place is first key. So you talked about, picking up the phone and calling that next day, setting yourself up as more high level, where it's just spontaneous, pushing content to them. And second of what we do to help advisors, and I think a big differentiator of Catalyze versus the competition is it's all exclusive to that advisor. And that's where we really see the power of data, as that advisor who's receiving our data is the only advisor we send that data to.
Love that.
So they don't have 10 guys. And I was on the other side of this, is when I was prospecting, they said, hey, I'm almost not interested because I got 5 guys calling me.
Yep.
And so, through our data and being really exclusive on the distribution side, advisors are seeing extreme success for that exclusivity, and it's really powerful. as that cycle isn't short. It's not, I need to pick up the phone tomorrow and give them a call, and if I don't, they're no longer a prospect, or I should take them out of my funnel. The sales cycle is elongated as you're dripping on individuals 6 months, year, 2 years. They're qualified. They just had an event happen in the last 30 days. Each individual is different on when they raise their hand saying they want help. They're going through that event, and each of them kind of come to the surface and boil to the top when they feel is right.
Yeah. And I love the exclusivity. There's lead services in our industry and every industry, right? 411 pain, is an accident attorney. So for those of you who have ever evaluated your vehicle online, this is how the lead services work, right? You might go to Kelley Blue Book, kbb.com. I know I know because I did it, right?
Yeah.
I might type in my 2016 Toyota Tundra.
Yeah.
And they'll kick me back a range of what the value is. And for the next 60 days, every auto dealer within 200 miles of me is sending a mailer, making a phone call, sending me emails. It kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth for in that case, for Kelley Blue Book, right? So that's the same. I mean, it's the same way a lot of the lead generation services in our industry work. So I absolutely love the exclusivity of it, because you're not part of that bad taste in your mouth. It's a one-to-one outreach. Cold email's tough, right? And here's some of the stats that we've found around email is that when you send a cold email out, you get a database, right? Get a database from ZoomInfo or Discovery Data, or wherever else you subscribe there. When you send a cold email out, typically you've got somewhere between about a 12 and an 18% open rate. That's about average. Now, be careful with that too, right? Because I know ZoomInfo embeds those data lists with dummy email addresses. So they're tracking who's spamming those lists, right? I'm not sure what the consequences of that are, but I certainly know some people that got, in domain trouble because of it. So that 12 to 18%, if you do the simple act of sending a connection request on LinkedIn, which is pretty commonplace to connect with strangers, send a connection request on LinkedIn, your email open rate will jump to between 50 and 55%. Just the simple fact of sending a connection request is going to more than double that success on the open rate with your email outreach.
And we see that exactly with our clients utilizing LinkedIn and utilizing your services, Charlie, is just shooting off cold emails is not going to get you where you need to be. You really have to different outreach strategies, different activation tools. Connecting with them is one of the best. So I forgot that statistic. You need 10 touch points for you to remember your name. I think that's what you told me one day.
Well, there was this is actually a recent one. I did a video around it. It's like 80% of sales require 5 or more meaningful touches, not a LinkedIn post, though of course that's going to help with your branding and stuff, right? But not a Facebook, not an email, meaningful touches, right? 80% of them, right? 80% of sales require 5 or more. 94% of advisors don't go beyond 4, right? And so, I mean, it's LinkedIn. I don't know if the LinkedIn connection request is a meaningful touch, but certainly it opens up the door for the brand. And then the email follows, right? And then perhaps, because I've got all this data in my neighborhood around inheritances, perhaps I'm doing an event at the local hotel, right? Or the local Ruth Chris or something, doing an event around inheritance. Right. So now all of a sudden I'm speaking your exact language. Right. Or webinar, whatever that is. Right now, without speaking directly to you, I'm speaking directly to you.
And that light bulb goes into that prospect's head, said, wow, that's right time, right place. And we see that with all our partner advisors of having extremely low unsubscribe rates. These individuals, really need information, and they really love the informative newsletters or different approaches to help, because that's top of mind. That's exactly what they're going through. and sometimes it falls down to the wayside because it's a stressful time. But in the back of their mind, they're really looking for that, powerful information. What's going on in the markets? What's the Fed going to do? What's inflation? How should I do my estate? I just received an inheritance. What about my kids? So a lot's going through their mind in terms of through each of these events.
Yeah. So love that. Retargeting ads is another one that we marked down yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
So you've got the ability to retarget either by pixel or even email address in a lot of cases.
Yep.
Right. So being able to serve up an ad about inheritance to a list of email addresses that just got an inheritance.
Yeah.
Right. Or promote that event, whatever that is. We want to chat CRM, and actually we've come to call it LMS more than CRM. And I'll tell you why. It's just, if I say CRM to 100 advisors, they all go, I've got it. I've got Redtail or I've got Wealthbox. Right?
Yeah.
Or one of, there are a couple others in the industry, but
Yeah.
those are the two prominent ones. Not all CRMs are created equal. So we actually call it a lead management system, an LMS.
Mm-hmm.
Traditionally it would fall under CRM. But the ability to score people on how they interact with content, when they watch a video, when they hit the inheritance page on your website, right? So all this stuff, they're doing their research, all this stuff is happening behind the scenes, and using that marketing automation, you're able to track all of that activity. You guys use Hubspot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And tell me a little bit about that tool, how excited you are about Hubspot, and I'll dive into what we use and take it from there.
HubSpot's great internally for us, and kind of with our data. The most important piece on the advisor side is be able to collect data on your data. So it's an interesting thought of saying, it's not just uploading them into Redtail and saying, hey, are they, A client, a B client, or B prospect, or whatever. It's a step further of saying, okay, who are the individuals engaging with my content? Who's clicking on this newsletter? And kind of as time goes on, you could really see trends of what newsletters or emails they're engaging with and whatnot. And you could really lead score it. And that's where HubSpot, and there's a couple others that really do a good job for lead management. As now you could, think of your marketing outreach as a full funnel. And, Catalyze is the top of funnel database into your funnel. But what spoots out the end is really the individuals who are engaging with your content. And now you could see, okay, John Smith has, read 6 of my newsletters. He's went to my website 10 times. He's watched my webinar. Let's pick up the phone and give him a call, or let's invite him to a golf outing. Or there's so much you could do, a more personal touch but the first step is, digesting that data. And the only way you could do it is to use a lead management tool.
Yeah. And they're not all created equal. We
definitely,
we've been doing content for advisors for about 10 years. And then, started to put together engagement strategies. So the content doesn't matter if you don't have an audience for it.
Mm-hmm.
The audience doesn't matter if you're not nurturing it with content and interaction of some sort, right? So the two kind of marry each other. So, the business started 9 years ago as a content developer. That's what Social Advisors was. And then really because of that engagement need, we turned to LinkedIn about 6 years ago. And really just had some engagement strategies on LinkedIn. So as we push content out, we're pushing it out to dozens and then hundreds and then thousands of people. Now, of course, LinkedIn's gone through a ton of changes. So our evolution was marketing automation and CRM. And I'll tell you, we kicked the tires on, I don't know, a dozen or more technologies, HubSpot included, Salesforce with Pardo. They are not all created equal. So just kind of as an FYI for attendees, the Redtails and the Wealthboxes and the other industry platforms, they're awesome tools. They're priced right for what they are, right? I mean, I think Redtail's $45 a month.
Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful for housing all of your client data, be able to send out your quarterly statements and whatever else you need to do with that. Excuse me. But it is not, how do I say, it's not a great marketing tool per se.
Yeah.
Right. So we settled on a platform called SharpSpring, which is, they were just acquired by Constant Context. We're excited about that because of, deeper pockets. They're out of their headquarters is about 100 miles down the road from me. So that was nice and convenient.
Nice.
Yeah, same thing you're saying, right? As you hook up all your media, your social posts, your key, your key videos, your key pages on your website, any media that you've got that is designed for consumption, and everybody that's in your database that hits that media, it's scoring them, right?
Yep.
So if you're sending 200 people a month to an advisor and maybe 20 are paying attention, you know exactly who those 20 are within 30 or 60 days.
Yeah.
Moves pretty good.
And that's the best way to do it. It's really, at the end of the day, creating a Ferrari of a marketing funnel. And you could use Catalyze to be the high octane gasoline at the top, and SharpSpring or HubSpot to be your lead management, to identify, hey, who's the cream? The cream rises to the top. Let's focus our time, on them, as well as creating separate marketing funnels to the individuals maybe that aren't engaging, maybe changing up the content, A/B testing a lot of marketing strategies. So the more data, and this is just the power of data, the more data points you have, on the event and on that prospect, but also of your own firm and your own brand, is powerful. So
I agree, man.
That's the ideal platform to grow your book.
Yeah, very cool. So I'll tell you what, the one thing we've all known data's big business. We've known that for a long time. I mean, you look at the 2016 election, I can't even remember the show that came out after that, Cambridge Analytica stuff. Or anyway, so there, you look at how data really impacted that presidential election and continues to. I mean, it's in every part of our lives, right? That's just one high level, example of it. What I love about you and your partners at Catalyze AI is the ability to price data right. So it's affordable for the small organization. It's not just available to large organizations. So it allows a solo practitioner to compete on some level with the big firms. That's cool.
And it's right really for any advisor. I mean, you can really scale your marketing platform tremendously. I mean, we have advisors utilizing 10,000 individuals, prospects through Catalyze in different cities and different states. So once you have that foundation, that base, and that process, it's easy to scale and to grow as advisors trying to grow, and it's perfect for the younger advisors coming through to generate new business and to grow their book. And you almost you really start a lifelong business in your practice of one, getting your brand out there and letting new advisors come up and grow their book. And it's that foundation that needs to be built first, and it's really easy to scale that.
Yeah. And I knew as soon as I brought that up, I knew I'd get the question we got. So Terry asked Rylan, what do the packages look like? What's it like to buy or work with Catalyze AI?
Yeah. So since we just launched, we're actually running a soft launch promo for the first year of launching. And so we launched in January, and we partner with over 50 advisors. And so that promotion is 50% off our pricing now. So traditional pricing for our packages go for 200 high net worth prospects in your zip code of choosing. And these 200 individuals have recently just had an inheritance. They just had a divorce. They might have just moved to that city. So we track a handful of Catalyst events. So for those 200 individuals per month, it'll be $500 per month.
Cool. That's awesome. And yeah, I think it's great, right?
Yep.
I mean, you just need, small percentages of that to create the ROI you're looking for. Exactly.
So if you're looking at a course of a year, we have $5,000, you win one or two clients. It's on an average client we push is $1 million in investable assets. So very, very, very good ROI in terms of investment.
That's awesome. Rylan, where can our attendees and those who get the recording, where can they find out more about Catalyze AI? And then follow up to that is, what's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, I'll put our website in the chat as well as our email. We're actually just redoing our website, so you'll probably see a brand new, fresh website in a week. But I'll drop my email in the chat. You could book a demo through our website. Would love to show anyone on this webinar the platform we built, as it's not just the data, but It's how we digest the data and push it to you. So I'll drop my email, phone number, as well as the website. Feel free to reach out for a demo.
Awesome. We got a couple more questions coming in, both based on geography. So Ryan, not Rylan, I bet you get that a little bit. Ryan asked, is it available in Canada?
So we're US focused as of now. Down our pipeline, our roadmap is to bring in Canada. But as of now, we are US focused.
Okay. And so that answers the other question by Mahid, geographic limitations. So
yep, we're nationwide. So we're in all 50 states, and we have data in each zip code of the US. So we're nationwide.
How about Puerto Rico?
Not Puerto Rico, US main. Yep, Hawaii, Alaska, and US mainland.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Cool, very cool. Well, we'll hang out for a couple more minutes. I don't know, Rylan, you got anything that we didn't touch on that you want to chat about?
No, I think it's just sitting on the other side. It's, what are different strategies? How can I grow my book? How can I tap into data and really build that target market of high net worth, high propensity prospects. And we know individuals flowing that just had a catalyst event, divorce, inheritance, just moved, sale of business, new baby. There's a list of events that's when they need help. And so you're providing that need, and you're not marketing to a group and waiting for that event. That event already happened. So it's not pushing content until that event happens. It's really skipping that step and making that outreach just after the event has happened.
Yeah, like we said earlier, everything boils down to needs and timing. So you guys have the timing down, and I guess it's for your advisor client to find out if the needs are there.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Cool. And
any other questions, guys? Feel free to post in the chat, or I could raise your hand. I think I could allow you guys to talk.
Yeah, and I'm taking what you're writing in there. You're writing to, it's you and me, so I'm just putting it out there.
There you go.
I'm just copy and pasting it out to everybody. So
cool.
If you didn't see it in the chat, is the URL for the website, Rylan's email address and phone number.
Yeah.
Is that your cell phone, Rylan?
That is my cell phone.
We'll blow that thing up, man.
Yeah, feel free to blow it up, guys.
And Matt, thanks for being here. Good to see you, man. Usually takes about 24 hours for me to process the video, and then an email will go out to everybody who registered. So recording will be available tomorrow. So we'll get that out hopefully within 24 hours of completion here.
Great. Well, Charlie, it was awesome being on the webinar, and looking forward to being on to more as we go. And if anyone has any questions they want to take offline, feel free to shoot me an email, give me a call, text me. So
I'll be in your neighborhood in September for Future Proof.
Awesome.
Maybe we'll grab a surfboard, man. Grab a surfboard, see what we can do. Your waves are better than mine.
Well, we'll see. I just picked it up. I moved out to LA last year, so I'm on my foam board, so I haven't graduated yet. So it's still fun out there.
Rylan. There's no danger as long as you don't get hit by the board.
Yeah.
We don't think about the fish in the water either.
Yeah.
All right. So listen, everybody here, thank you so much. Time is absolutely valuable. Rylan, thank you for your time and your knowledge as well. It's really you guys have a wonderful offering. It's unique in the industry as far as I know. If it's not, we don't want to talk about anybody else doing it. So it's a really good offering, and really allows you to target well. If you need any tips on how to reach those people, like I say, LinkedIn's a great place to start. If you get a list of email addresses from Rylan, the first thing I'd do is I'd offer a LinkedIn connection to every single person on that list that you can find, because when you send them an email, your open rate's going to double or triple at least. And so that'd be my first step, is reaching out to them on LinkedIn and then making sure we're getting content in front of them consistently. So
there it is.
Bomb, man. Thanks for being here, Rylan.
Appreciate it, Charlie. Yeah.
All right.
Everyone, take care.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
Cheers.
Have a good one.
Bye.